In this video, we are going to continue simplifying radical expressions, but now we're going to concentrate on the multiply and divide aspect of it instead of the addition and subtraction, okay? Again, here's what that's going to look like. A rational number is a number that can be represented as a fraction, so we have our two fractions. Normally, again, we've got fractions without variables, but now we have variables, so we have to account for those. All of my same rules still apply. In multiplying fractions. For example, if I had 2 over 3 divided by 4 over 3, we'd have to remember that dividing is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into a multiplication problem. I'm going to take my 4 and 3, I'm going to take that 4/3 fraction and flip it to be 3 over 4. So now I have 2/3 as my original, and if we'll notice here, these two are just 3 over 3, which is just a 1, which gives me 2 over 4, and then that will simplify to 1/2. Okay, so dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, and now let's go apply that to our rational expression here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which would be x squared plus 2x. I'm going to take the denominator, put it in the numerator, and the numerator, put it in the denominator. And then I'm going to leave the front one, the first term, the same, x squared minus 7x plus 6. Now, a good rule of thumb here is to always try to simplify everything I can first, because if I try to and I say, okay, I'm going to multiply the numerators together, I'm going to have to distribute 3 terms, there, here, here, then that one to all 3. And it's just going to get it to be a mess, and I'm going to have all kinds of things going on, leave lots of room for possible mistakes. I'm going to try to see if I can simplify this, get some terms to turn into a 1 for me. So I'm going to take the top numerator here. I'm going to recognize, hey, that is a quadratic function, which will simplify to x plus 5 and x minus 2. All right. Then I'm going to look at the numerator here. I'm going to do something similar with that. All right. So I can see that's x minus 6 and x minus 1. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. I'm going to see that that factors to x plus 3, x minus 1, and then finally the numerator factors to x plus 3, x minus 2. Now I can see I have my two multiplications going on here, and if you'll remember, when I multiply two fractions together, I do not have to have common denominators, so I just multiply every term in the numerator together and every term in the denominator together, and I'm going to get my simplified fraction. But first I'm going to notice, all right, so here I have a x minus 2 and an x minus 2, so that just turns into a 1. I have an x plus 3 and an x plus 3, that also turns into a 1. Then you have x minus 1 and x minus 1, that also turns into a 1. So essentially what happens is some teachers will say that it cancels out. I don't particularly like using that phrase. I like saying it turns into 1 because that's what happened. X minus 2 over x minus 2 is 1, so on and so forth. And then 1 times anything is just itself. So when I get all of that happening, I'm just left with the two terms x plus 5 in the numerator and x minus 6 in the denominator. So now this simplified version is just that first one, but now I've performed my division, I've factored, I've found pairs that turn into 1, and I'm left with x plus 5 over x minus 6. All right, now what I want you to do is the same thing. I want you to pause this video. I want you to try this on your own real quick. Then we'll come back and we'll look at it all together. All right, now that you've had a chance to try that on your own, let's look at it. All right, so here I just have a straight up multiplication, so I do not have to flip my second fraction, right? Because I just need to factor everything and start multiplying. So the top term simplifies into, it's similar to the other one. I got x plus 5, x minus 2. Then I have x minus 3, x plus 2 on this one. And then now on the second fraction here, you'll notice I don't have 3 terms, so it's not going to be like a regular quadratic. I'm going to notice I have common factors in both terms of the top, which would be an x. So if I factor an x out, I just get 2 plus x. And if I do the same thing to the bottom, just factor an x out of both of those, I get x over x minus 2. So now I'm going to recognize, all right, well, I can just multiply every term together over the top, every term across the bottom, and then we'll be good to go. So here I have x over x, which turns into a 1, more or less cancels out. I have x minus 2 and x minus 2. That also turns into 1, aka cancels out. And then I have x plus 2 and 2 plus x. But I'm going to recognize that's the same term. I just have the order switched around. But either way, those both turn into a 1 there for me. And again, I'm left with x plus 5 over x minus 3. So this final answer is the simplified version of our original expression. Hope this video helps. See you in the next one.